Well, this thought would be an interesting watch. Ratatouille was one of those films that I thought very little of back then. I thought it was okay, and then I moved on. But after this latest rewatch, very much like A Bug's Life, I very much enjoyed it. It was solid. First off, very much like A Bug's Life and Monsters Inc. before this, I like the idea of seeing the life of a rat, but it's not the entire colony that we follow. Our main focus is on Remy, who desires to become a cook following inspiration from Gusteau, who we later find out had died, which caused his restaurant to lose one of his 5 stars. And he pretty much becomes Remy's make-believe character throughout the course of the film. You know how Barney says that you have to use your imagination to do something? Well, that's kind of what's going on here, except on a bigger scale because, well, it's a Pixar film. I also like seeing what it's like to be in the restaurant's kitchen. This pretty much gave me Hell's Kitchen vibes, even if it's not on the same level as that, but still. But this film's antagonist, Skinner, is pretty interesting though, because damn, you really can see that he hates Remy. It's another situation where something may cause what he cares about to go out of business. Of course it doesn't by the end of the film, but through his eyes, it's pretty dire. Linguini is the main chef character we follow, and it's neat seeing his arc here, showing that he really isn't the best cook per se, but once Remy comes into the picture, he basically becomes his puppet. Of course, the only reason why he acts like a good chef is because of Remy controlling him. That's honestly a cool thing to witness. And he really feels sympathetic when he feels sad after he reveals to the other chefs that Remy was the one who was controlling him this whole time. And speaking of Remy, I like his arc too. At the beginning we see that he's grown tired of being in a colony and longs to become a chef like I said earlier. I know that the synopsis on the back of the DVDs say that he's torn between the colony and the real human life, but I didn't really see that here. But that's a good thing, because you can really tell that Remy wants this dream, and it's so wholesome seeing his dad see his dream at the end. It's not like Odalia who forced Amity to accept the desire of being in the Emperor's Coven that we see years later. No, Remy's dad, despite being in the colony, by the end of the film, sees what his son wants. And you really feel Remy's pain when Linguini shoves him out, and that he had reached his lowest point in terms of stealing. It's a really sad moment for him, and you end up rooting for him when he comes back after his escape. But despite Remy and Linguini and their fun character arcs, they are not my favorites from this film. That honor clearly goes to Colette. I love Colette. Like Fiona and Atta before her, I totally forgot how funny she is in this movie. And the voice actress does a great job of bringing her to life. And I love that moment when Linguini and Colette fall in love with each other. It's just so funny and wholesome. And I really felt crushed when she left him at the end when the secret was revealed. But despite that, she actually came back. But because she cares about the restaurant. Despite Remy being there. She's no Jessie or Dory or Lumini or anything. But I do think she's one of the better characters in Pixar and Disney's library. I also really like Anton Ego. At first he may seem like a harsh critic, but after having that ever so iconic flashback sequence, he turns into quite a nice guy by the end of the film, and that's something I really like. Okay, now that we've spent these few minutes talking about characters, let's now talk about other aspects of the film, like the animation here. It's not as amazing as the last movie, but it's still just as great as the previous films. Paris is really brought to life in this film, and all of the scenes in the sewers were well lit, especially with all the scenes with the water rapids. And like The Incredibles, the character models here don't feel uncanny or anything. They feel very stylized. And the music here by Michael Giacchino is very good. It's not the more action-like score that he provided in The Incredibles, but it's still a nice score. I like the French vibes it gives out. And that one French song played in some parts of the film is very sweet, very French-like, which suits the style of the film that the team were going for. And I think I don't really need to go over the story, because I think I've already capped what it's like when I talked about the characters. It follows Remy wanting to become a chef, meeting Linguini, and going through several trials and errors to achieve his dream. And there's even one part that really gave me a chill. There's one scene where Remy's father shows that this is what happens when rats get close to humans, as his father says. This scene is so dire, knowing that despite wanting to achieve his goal, Remy now has to be a bit cautious around humans. But he is kind of skeptical, which you can't really blame him for. And that chase sequence between Remy and Skinner at one part is quite tense, and a fun watch. And I don't know if it's just me, but the music and the vibes of this scene gave me vibes to the chase sequence in Magic Railroad. Please tell me in the comments that I am seriously not the only one who thinks that, because I am genuinely curious to know. And that's it. That was Ratatouille. All in all, better than what I initially thought of it. Yeah, I still don't think it's as good as people say it is, but considering that this was Brad Bird's first film in a while that he worked on that isn't The Incredibles, you can tell that he was quite inspired by all the French culture, and all the dangers what it's like to be a rat, particularly with the beginning with all the old lady scenes. Although, in my rankings of all the Pixar films so far, I think it slightly sits below A Bug's Life. So with that said, I think it may be the weakest of Pixar's classic films, but I still haven't rewatched WALL-E yet, which I do know from memory that it was average at best. So, we'll just have to wait and see. But even then, I still recommend it if you're interested in French culture, and getting to see Remy's journey to becoming a chef. And also, if you're a big Goldbergs fan, I recommend it purely just to hear Patton Oswalt's voice acting, because he does a great job as Remy. But that just goes without saying, really. Tune in tomorrow, where I think we may start to see a bit of a rocky time. I know it's been ages since I've seen WALL-E, but like I said, last time I watched it, I thought it was average at best. But who knows? Several things have surprised me during this marathon, so we'll see if this next film will surprise me just as much.